with another replay commentary. The Battle of the Pyramids between a faction I've used very sparingly, Epirus. It's an okay faction, just nothing that particularly speaks to me, so I'm going to try out my army against this Carthaginian army. And usually I play as the Carthaginians. So I brought 3 slingers, 3 mercenary Cretan archers, 4 militia hoplites. I think it was 6 Thuria spears, 3 Aspis companion cavalry, Hellenic Royal Guard general, and that's my build. My opponent brought a front line of 5 late Libyan hoplites, not a bad idea, 3 mercenary Cretan archers, pretty good guys. 3 mercenary Iberian swords, which are units I like a lot, 1 Libyan infantry, and only 2 cavalry units, 2 noble cavalry. Now, from the onset, I think my opponent wasted a lot of his potential by bringing these Sacred Band and by having noble cavalry as a general and bringing another noble cavalry. It's not, it's decent shock cavalry, but it's not very good shock cavalry. Even when it had trample, it underperformed significantly, and it dies very easily, only 60 armor, 14 melee defense. And I think it would be better to bring Carthaginian cavalry actually to act as speed bumps, and then bring some spears into support. I'd rather like to see more Libyan infantry. They are very versatile and cost significantly less than these Sacred Bands. So for the cost of these Sacred Band, he could have brought 6 Libyan infantry and had some money to spare if he removed these noble cavalry as well. So let's get the battle going. Now my plan here is to, since my opponent is in a fairly contracted position and I'm not too worried about his cavalry, I'm going to put all my heavy cavalry on this flank and threaten him there, to making him adopt an even more defensive posture. Then I want to move my guys up so that I eventually get them here, so I'm more protected in a skirmish. I'm going to send my slingers around the flanks here, and then I'm going to adopt a hollow formation, so like this, so that I can get units in on different sides of my opponent. So the units that I'm the most wary of are these Cretan archers and the Sacred Band. These mercenary Iberian swords can do a lot of damage if they manage to support a cavalry fight, so I'm not going to let them do that. And already you can see my opponent is starting to shift his units and go on the defensive, which he kind of has to do against this army. Now my front line is very weak with these militia hoplites, but it kind of mirrors his late Libyan hoplites. They are cheap and pretty bad units. I don't know who wins in a 1 versus 1 with these late Libyans and these militia hoplites. I think it will be a win for the late Libyan hoplites in most cases. They have more armor, they have slightly higher melee attack, and their weapon damage is lower, but they have a higher bonus against large. They are better anti-cavalry troops. But anyway, I'm starting to post up on the flanks here with my Aspis companions. Then I'm going to move my slingers up here to try to get some shots off on his lightly armored units, while I push up my Cretans. So he has to skirmish in 2 directions. If he chooses to go for some guys against these mercenary Cretans, then I'll be able to defeat him by having more guys than him and having a more advantageous position. If he decides to go for these slingers, which he will kill very easily, that will allow my Cretans to fire at his Cretans, and that should also allow me to press my advantage further. I feel fairly safe that his cavalry won't be able to catch my infantry here, and I'm also going to use my Thuria spears as skirmishers, primarily to try to take out these Iberians, because my guys have more armor and they have better shields, so they should be able to last for quite some time. And I just want to get some kills in on these Iberian swords with my slingers, because they would go down very easily. Poor shields, poor armor, and you can see them start to drop fairly quickly, and they were even turned the wrong way, but now he turns them around again. And they are dropping very, very quickly to these slingers. But here you can see he doesn't want any of that, so he's going to start firing with his cretins on my guys, and they're going to start dropping fairly quickly. While this is happening, I'm just continuing my encirclement, creating a kind of a V around his army. And my guys are losing, so I'm starting to fire at his cretins while also firing from here. Now these guys are well in range of these guys, but again my opponent makes the mistake of bunching up his skirmishers, so a lot more of my shots are going to hit his guys than he's going to hit me. The cretins are dropping in all of the units because of although I'm only shooting at one of them, the cretins in all the units are dropping, and now he's going to push up with the sacred band. One of my slingers is routing without getting very many kills, but that's fine. The other guys are getting some kills. The slingers are there primarily as meat shields, skirmishing meat shields. So now I'm pushing up these Thuria spears. 70 armor, pretty decent. And they are shooting at the Iberian swords, depleting them further, reducing their potential as skirmishers. So I'm not really worried about this sacred band, I can just pull away from them at any time. Strong units, but hard to use effectively, I find, because they're so expensive. So the Cretan archers are being shot at from basically everything I've got, running straight into the trap here, and they are quickly becoming a non-factor in the battle. The Sacred Band stopped chasing me, so I'm turning around, and they are going into a phalanx. I'm going to move my guys up a bit, but then I see I have Sacred Band in the way, I'm going to pull away. Encirclement continues on this flank, and my opponent doesn't have much to oppose the encirclement with. So I'm just going to keep moving my cavalry around his flank, and you can see how disorganized my opponent is here, because he has to deal with threats from multiple angles. He can't really deal effectively with it. So I'm putting my mercenary cretins back to conserve some of their ammo that I want to conserve for the late game skirmish. He's trading shots with my Thuria spears, but it's not a good trade for these mercenary Iberians. They need to be kept in reserve and used when they aren't under threat for skirmishing fire. They are very good units, but only in the right conditions, and these are not the right conditions to be mercenary Iberian swords. So I see this juicy target here, which I am going to work my way towards. And you can see the cretins, his cretins are getting some kills, but mainly on these low quality slingers. So shooting at his sacred band, which for some reason have their back turned, so that's why I started shooting at them. I think they were moving back here, and then I could start pouring slinger fire. He turns them around. Still, I'm just pulling away from the sacred band. I don't want to waste a unit of Thuria spears on sacred band just yet. And here I'm just charging the mercenary Iberians for two reasons. One is that I want him to shoot at this unit, to leave my skirmishers alone for a bit, and I just want to make him do some friendly fire to his guys here, which you can see is happening to a small degree. So that allows me to get my Thurios back into position, and now he's getting frustrated, I guess, so his late Libyans are charging, but I'm going into phalanx to limit the impact of each charge, and you can see he's stopping here. He could have tried to push through, but that's not, it would leave his guys exposed as well. So he could rear charge here, but it's going to leave his guys exposed to shots. So I'm charging my militia hoplites into the backs of these guys. Over here I have engaged his noble cavalry, and they're going down to my superior Aspis. He's charging in here with his general, and that allows me to bring my Thuria spears in and finish off his general. Now you can see the Iberian swords are coming up here. They came back from routing, and now they're going to support this fight, but my Aspis can take it for a while, so I want to stop him here for a little while. I charge the mercenary Iberian swords because Thuria spears can do fairly well against those units, and his Cretan archers are continuing to take fire from my slingers. Over here he's starting to push through with some of his sacred band. I'm just holding and pushing back with my skirmishers. I don't really care what happens to these units, but this allows me to get some nice flanking shots in on these sacred band on the side that's unprotected. So you'll see they will start dropping fairly soon, and they are fighting dirt cheap units. But these militia hoplites, they've managed to get some kills on Libyan hoplites, So that's all good. And these guys are going in for rear shots on these late Libyan hoplites. They have good armor, but they depend on their shields a lot. Here the fight against his cavalry is wrapped up. I'm able to charge these Iberian swords, and his general pulled out after taking a few losses, not too many. Over here I'm continuing to pour fire into this melee, hitting the Sacred Band. It's dropping fairly quickly. And here my Hellenic Royal Cavalry got kind of a weird... Oh, I dismounted them, that's why. I must have clicked the wrong button and then dismounted my cavalry, so that's a good job on my part. And I wondered why they took so long chasing down these mercenary Cretans, and it's because I dismounted them, so there you go. Shock cavalry on foot, very effective. Let's see them get into these Iberian swords. Yeah, massive charge bonus for the win. They are getting some kills here, but a total waste of Royal Cavalry. There you go. These guys are busy firing, so they're going to get rear charged by the Sacred Band, which is going to be bad from my Thurios, but it's also going to set this Sacred Band up for some rear charges by the very strong Aspis companions. So these are good units against the cavalry, but not against rear charges by heavy cavalry. So they're going to start dropping now when these 3 units start pouring in. And here my line is disintegrating, but it allows me to keep shooting at the Sacred Band, which is almost dead. These late Libyan hoplites, not too worried about those. And here my now on foot general is charging mercenary Iberian swords and killing them off. But slightly embarrassing micro mistake there, clicking dismount. I wondered why there were all these horses here just standing around, and now I know why. Very disciplined horses, these. Sacred Band got destroyed, so now I'm going to be able to pour my Aspis in to support this fight over here. You can see I have attack orders against these guys, and now I'm going to finish off this fight. Late Libyan hoplites don't like getting rear charged by heavy cavalry, so that's the end of that unit. And over here is starting to waver a bit. I'm losing my militia hoplites, but they held out for quite some time. They got some kills against the Libyan hoplites. Cretans racking up kills there. And now it's down to this one blob right here, and it's a GG. I have all my heavy cavalry left and my now heavy infantry general. And so I'm just going to send them all in and charge, cycle charge a few times, and that should take care of this Sacred Band and these Libyan infantry. And as you can see, the Sacred Band doesn't get too many kills, although they're up against cheap units. Mercenary Iberian swords, they killed some slingers, I think, so they have a lot of kills. But I really prefer these Libyan infantry units to Sacred Band, just because Sacred Band are so expensive. They have good morale, good armor, pretty high melee defense, good melee attack, but for their price you can bring more units, and in this patch I believe more units is the way to go, rather than going for the highest quality troops you can possibly field. So I'm moving my guys around here, going for a slow flank with my now dismounted general. These guys luckily are still on their horses. This is going to present the backs of some nice Carthaginians for my units to charge in. Let's have a look at the glory charge here. Aspis running through the woods. There we go, first charge coming in. And now my general is just jogging into the fight. They should start wavering real soon. General is dead, and they are surrounded on all sides. Army is losing decisively. There we go, the Libyan infantry wavering, and all the units are wavering. They're going to hold out for a little while, but in the end they are going to die. So that was that battle, and thanks to my opponent for the battle. It was an interesting one. Got some nice kills on some Thuria spears, some militia hoplites. They did fairly well, I think, and I didn't really need to get monster kills in this Aspis. I mainly used them for mopping up, and my general underperformed since he was on foot. A bit of a mistake there. Slingers, I think they paid for themselves by being targets and allowing my Cretans to basically survive the entire battle. If I was to bring a different Carthaginian build than this, I think it's fine to bring 5 late Libyan hoplites as a front line, no problem with that. But I would much rather see 6 more Libyan infantry, 2 Carthaginian cavalry, and just leave the Sacred Band at home. They leave them in their temple to polish their armor and stuff like that, because they are not cost effective enough to warrant bringing them in large funds battles. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you again.